guys. So this is what happened to me this week. The little girl that lives here, her name is Linda. She bought herself an easy bake oven. She calls it an air fryer. Bought that a couple days ago. I said, bet you can't bake cookies in there. She said, yeah, I'm pretty sure I can bake cookies. I said, no, I don't think you can. So, came in the house last night and there was 5 peanut butter cookies baking in the Easy Bake. Ah, okay. Awesome. So I sit down. She brings them to me and I immediately start having flashbacks. We have 2 girls. Immediately start having flashbacks of the girls when they were smaller making me something. And it was awesome. But, so she hands me the cookies, and they're pretty dark around the edges. That's okay. I'm grateful. Oh, I lift them up. They're as black as night on the bottom. Oh, these are awesome. Thank you. So, I ate them. I'm not picky. I ate them. They're peanut butter cookies. So, and I even gave some to the dog. And so we were dry heaving together, me and the dog. So, yeah. So that happened to me. Also, my boss was on vacation this week, and we were around the store, called it a staycation for us. So that was cool. We're going to talk GTO this week. I've always been a Pontiac fan. My first car that I was able to drive, was a 1973 Pontiac Le Mans. I had a car before that was supposed to be a father-son project. It was a 47 Chevy Fleetmaster Coupe. But then my mom and dad got divorced and that kind of fell apart. So the first car I ever drove on the street was a 1973 Pontiac Le Mans. And then I kind of fell off the wagon there in high school because, of course, like every high school guy in my time, you trashed your car, towed it to the junkyard, and that was the end of it. So after the 73 Le Mans, I bought a 65 Chevy Impala and drove that around until I lost my license. So that, I went away to school. I didn't really need a car. When I came back, bought a 70 Le Mans. I had that for quite some time. And then met Linda, my wife. We got the 70 GTO. We've had Grand Ams, a Pontiac 6000. That was a car that they had there for a while. I believe back in the 80s, that was just kind of like their semi-luxury sedan. Pontiac 6000. I've had a 66 Le Mans convertible. That was something I should never have gotten rid of. And 07 Solstice GXP, little 2.0 4-cylinder turbocharged. That was a fast little car. So I figured it out that I've been driving for 43 years, and I think for only 2 of those years, I've been without a Pontiac of some sort. So going back to the 70 GTO, I was always a fan of the 70. I like the front end. I like the Enduro bumper on the 70s. I like the rear wing that was available on the Judges, the hood scoops. So going back to 1988, I see this 70 GTO for sale. And the guy wanted $1,500 for it. This is back in 1988. The thing was only, 18 years old at that time. It wasn't that old yet. But $1,500, back when you're just a kid starting out then, it might as well have been $15,000. It was like, no, can't make it happen. So Linda and I got married in February of '89. The car was still for sale. And we had a honeymoon planned for the Poconos. For our honeymoon, we were going to go to the Poconos for a week. We had our wedding. The day after, we're sitting around. This is kind of old school for the younger people. The day after, you sit around with family, and you open up gifts, open up the cards, things like that, and counted up the money that was given, came up to $1,500. So I go to Linda, I go, we could buy that car and have it forever. Or we can go to Poconos for a week. She goes, let's buy the car. So we did. And that's how you know you married the right one. So 35 years later, we still have the car. So it's been an ongoing project. I bought it. It was a beater when I bought it. I just been slowly over the years restoring it, upgrading it, and it's my car. This is never going to be a concourse car. This is not going to be a major show winner for anybody. It's kind of pieced together. I don't care anymore. It's kind of pieced together by several different cars. It's got the wrong engine in it. It does have its original Rock Crusher 4-speed. But other than that, it's the wrong color. It's supposed to be atoll blue or atoll blue. Don't know how to pronounce that exactly. A dark blue. It's supposed to be dark blue. I have it painted Orbit Orange, which was a Judge color for 1970, which I really like. It really pops in the sun. I did have it stock looking. For many years. But lately, the last few years, I've turned it into more of something that I would have driven back in high school. Like if you drove into a high school parking lot back in the early 80s, this is what you would see. Krager mags with your white leather tires and stuff like that. I've got one of those barefoot gas pedals and 8-track tape player, and that's what you would have seen. So it's always been a fun car. Pop in the hood. Like I say, I had it mostly stock looking for quite some time. I guess I'm kind of over that. It does have the Ram Air cleaner set up. It is not a Ram Air engine. This is not a Ram Air car. But I like the Ram Air system. So it's my car. That's what I like. That's what I'm going to have. Have updated a lot of things. And I tell you what, this car gave a lot of inspiration for the Willys as far as updating things. Man, there are some things that you can update that just make a world of difference. I've put, you can't really see it back there, but I've put a modern HEI distributor in the GTO, Edelbrock carburetor, aluminum radiator with electric fans, twin electric fans, one-wire alternator. Made a world of difference. This car was notorious for pulsating lights at night. The dash lights, the headlights would pulsate. Don't have a problem with that anymore with the one-wire internal regulator alternator. That was a beautiful update. This last winter, I updated the steering box to, I believe they're in 1990s Camaros. So it's a little closer ratio and a tighter feel. So there are little things like that. Little things with the peripherals of the engine that you can do that just make a world of difference. Of course, back in the day, you would have to have the yellow spark plug wires. Pontiac had one engine block. They did not have a small block, big block like Chevy had. Pontiac had one engine block, and the difference between a 350 to a 455 were the guts. Whatever guts they put in that engine block. Other than that, you kind of have to know your numbers and your codes to figure out exactly what a Pontiac engine is, because from the outside, they pretty much all look the same. Like I say, like my Krieger mags, would have had those back in the day. Of course, back in the day, being a high schooler, those would have had plenty of rust on them. They wouldn't be quite as shiny as that. The wing on the back, that was a judge option. Again, I don't care. I like the wing, so I have the wing. Interior, I reupholstered the interior. A lot of this I did myself. The only thing, and I say the only thing with a grin because it's the most major thing, is body and paint. Body and paint, I do not have the patience for that kind of stuff. And a buddy of mine did this 30-some years ago in a little one-stall garage. And he did just an awesome job. Really talented. Back to the interior. It did come with the Formula steering wheel. That was an option on the GTOs. That is stock for this GTO. Of course, your Hurst T-shifter, 8-track tape player. You would have had an 8-track tape player back in the 80s. You would have had your barefoot gas pedal back in the 80s. It's a fun car. It gets a lot of looks. And I think a lot of that has to do with the color. You can't help but see it when it's driving down the street. So, again, you married the right one. 35 years later, and I still have both. So I did something right. Must have been in a previous life. So, one thing just popped in my mind. That's a little ADD kicking in. Just saw our lovely government saying that they're going to give the Hurricane Helene victims $750. All you got to do is log in, get your money. Here's people desolate, just the middle of nowhere, in mud. Just log in, get your $750. Who are these people? Not only that, but I tell you what, you can probably launder money in the South just as well as you can in the Ukraine. Just saying. You could probably handle a little more than that. On the Willys front, the junk runs. I had it running. And it runs, I thought, pretty well. I had it running just long enough to time it. And no weird noises, no knocking. So I call that a win. Started to install my new one-wire alternator. And I chose this alternator from 1942jeep.com because the guts of the alternator are made specifically for this engine. I liked that. I liked their, can I get a picture out here. Not really. I like their bottom mount for the alternator. Kaiser Willys also offers one of these one-wire alternators, but their bottom mount just looks like a contraption. So I'm sorry, I get a lot of my stuff from Kaiser Willys, so that's hopefully not bad-mouthing them too bad. To each their own. It seems to work for a lot of people. I just thought that this one had a cleaner look. The one thing I was not happy with was the upper mount. Right here, you've got a lot going on. There's a few things trying to take up the same real estate right here. You've got your negative battery cable, your oil filter line coming down into the timing cover, and then you've got this alternator bracket. Now, in the picture from 1942jeep.com, they have this alternator bracket in front of the alternator, okay, going down, and then it bolts onto the front of the timing cover. But after I found out that doesn't really work, I looked at the picture a little closer, and they actually had this oil line. This oil line wasn't here. It was actually capped off. Well, what's up with that? What reality does that work in? I need to have an oil line. So what I ended up doing is moving the upper bracket to the back of the alternator. This hole is threaded, so the bolt works either in the front or in the back. And then down, once again, you can't really see it, but I also moving the upper alternator bracket to the back of the alternator tab here also moved the bottom of the bracket behind the timing cover. I also had to space out the bracket. And then everything works. Nobody touches anybody else. Stop touching me. Nobody touches anybody else. It all really jives well. So if I had any advice to give, I would say to 1942 Jeep that this is how you should show how to set it up, and you should sell some kind of a spacer so that guys can bolt the upper bracket to the back side of the timing cover. That way, I think it would really work out well. Haven't had it running since then, but I'm sure it'll be okay. Another thing I'm doing is I'm buying a longer belt, the fan belt. The original belt, it maxed out the alternator travel all the way to the very end here. Okay, there was no adjustment. So I'm buying two longer belts at different lengths. I'll let you know which one I think works, because I would like to have some movement here. I don't want it crammed all the way to the end and then the belt went on really hard. I mean, it was super tight. So like I say, I'm going to try a couple different belts, see which one works the best. Probably don't plan on running it till after I get the rest of the engine put together. And as far as putting the rest of the engine together, we're looking at, of course, the fan belt. Now I'm waiting on that. Get the radiator hooked up so that the next time I run it, I can actually let it run for a while. I didn't want to let it run too long before because there was no coolant flowing through it. I ran it just long enough to half-ass time it, and that was it. So, yeah, I think that's about it for this week. Trudging along. Bought some cheap old wagon wheels for the Willys. I am restoring those right now. They were white, of course, white and rust. So sanded those down, primed them. Now I'm working on a color, what kind of color I want. Not white again. I'm going to go with like a tannish color. So working on that too. So I hope you guys had an awesome week, and I hope the upcoming week works out well for you. I forgot to think of some dad logic. Well, let's just leave it at this. Don't do anything stupid. So, we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.